and I'm joined by Althea Maber, who is a business development consultant over at Itransact Investment Platform. Many thanks for making time to speak to us. Fascinating stuff here that you actually are going on about. One thing that you do highlight is someone actually having their own, being the author of their own destiny, if I could just paraphrase there. And this is, of course, towards the women, not having to depend on a man for their retirement. Just walk me through this.
Okay, so you know, as married women generally, we tend to assume that, you know, we are pooling our resources towards retirement, but it seems that women tend to outlive men, firstly. And secondly, we kind of, you know how it is, we kind of have this inclination to want to, you know, lean towards a little bit of financial dependence. So to my mind, personally, I think that as women, we really need to take responsibility, take cognizance of the fact that, look, this is a reality. Only 6% of South Africans retire financially free. It's a big concern. Women are living longer. And to my mind, if you take responsibility for the financial literacy aspect of you know, your financial planning, I think we don't really plan effectively from the get-go.
I want to quote you here. You do mention that, let's get one thing straight, a man is not a retirement plan. And I love this because some ladies out there, well, looking great and everything, they might think, this is me getting married, the ring on the finger, the pretty diamond, this is my retirement plan, is going to provide for me till I die. And this shouldn't be the narrative.
Absolutely. And then reality, you know, reality bites you when your husband predeceases you, you know, by maybe 10, 20 years, for example. And there you are stuck with no retirement plan or no retirement funding. So fundamentally what we are saying is that start early, okay, do it consistently. And it's never too late to start. Financial literacy is so crucial for South African women, I think, for us to take back our power. And yeah, you know, these, you know, the looks are not going to last forever. It's a given fact.
Yes.
So it's never too late to start. That's a fundamental message. Start now. You know, start with a little bit a month. Do it consistently.
So where do you advise someone who's very naive, let's say, about financial markets and maybe the JSE? Where do you advise them to start when you do these outreach programs, if I could say?
Okay, so naivety is an excuse. There are a lot of financial literacy programs available to us freely these days. You know, if you Google information, literally in the palm of your hand. And I do think that we need to take a little bit more responsibility for empowering ourselves and upskilling ourselves. So whether you go to a bank and go speak to a teller or a consultant at a bank, you know, you go into a bank, you know, relatively frequently within a year, speak to somebody there, get some advice, you know, even like small savings, a savings pocket or something like that, where you just start, you know, putting a little bit away at a time. Itransact specifically is a low-cost investment product platform, and we cater specifically to people who, for as little as 150 Rand a month, want to try and make a difference to the quality of their lives. You know, retirement planning is also not just about creating financial security for yourself, but it also goes down to legacy planning and estate planning and all of those aspects of financial planning. So,
arguably the biggest challenge that I see with the economy right now is the debt.
Yes.
Now, it's not just public debt, but household debt and private debt. If we're to look at South Africans right now, close to 73% of them actually do spend their incomes actually paying off debt. So isn't that part of the problem? Maybe taking on more debt, all these credit cards being rolled out each and every morning, shouldn't that be addressed and give financial literacy in regards to debt and how low your debt should be, or how achievable you can actually service your debt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. So like you're saying, 73% of our income is spent servicing our debt. If you start, the first thing you do when you start working is, you earn an income, immediately the banks are on the phone with you, offering you personal loans, you know, buy a new car. So all of these things are so tempting to get involved in debt. And yet there's no real financial literacy in terms of having a holistic financial plan. And that's where it comes to getting proper, sound financial advice from a financial planner who can actually steer you from inception. So this should be done maybe at a university or at a high school level even, to give children fundamentals of, you know, financial planning and making sure that your plan is sustainable and that you don't get involved in that debt trap.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. And financial institutions part of the problem here, because if they're on your phone,
Yes.
once they know that you now have a contract, you're fresh out of graduate school,
Absolutely.
you now have a contract, and they're hauling you, they're haunting you with phone calls.
Fully, those campaigns and all of their marketing is targeted at that particular audience. But I mean, as great as it is to become financially literate, yes, it does require you to have some spending. I mean, and you can finance things like property or a vehicle or those types of things. You know, there is such a thing as good debt and bad debt. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we kind of overextend ourselves, and then we find ourselves in what we call the debt trap, and that takes you probably a better part of your life to try and recover from that, let alone then trying to put some money aside for retirement savings and all that kind of thing. So with specifics to women, spending money on those little, you know, nail polishes and treatments and manicures and your hair and so forth. So I was just doing like a calculation on my favorite quote from Albert Einstein with regards to that, the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. And it says something like, okay, if you were to save 400 a month, so who blows 400 a month on dinner or your nails or something like that, right? Relatively frequently. A month, like for 40 years, so from the age of 25 to the age of 65. That'll probably give you money in a region about, let's say, 1.3, 1.4 million rand, right? With the compound interest, obviously.
And that's the other issue that you actually do highlight, the fact that if you do keep on compounding interests, of course, on an annual basis, it actually does grow very, I don't want to use the word exponentially, but it actually does grow, yeah.
I mean, and I think also, you know, the crux of the matter is that the best exponential growth is actually towards the end of that 30 or 40 year period, because that's when you really see that tremendous spike in growth. And obviously now you're really enjoying the benefit of the compounding effect, you know. So people always tend to want to access their money towards the end of their savings, you know, they get that itchy, you know. But so the crux here also, even in retirement savings, is that if you're not on track to meeting your goals, maybe work a little longer. Or leave the money there a little longer. If you don't really need that income at that particular point, you can suspend maybe taking your retirement income for a few years if you're choosing to work longer. You know, those are types of strategies options, you can implement, you know, to mitigate running out of money during retirement.